Thanks again for pressing play. Welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast, the original post-game podcast on Planet Purple, shooting the shit about the Phoenix Suns since 2019. My name is John Voida, a.k.a. Darth Voida on the socials, managing editor, brightsideofthesun.com, the always fresh, always free Phoenix Suns fan site. Hosted by SB Nation. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Suns' third preseason game, playing the Detroit Pistons once again. Played them in Michigan at Michigan State a couple days ago. Now they're back home at the Footprint Center playing them. Ultimately, it ended in a loss, but it's not about the wins and losses right now. Although they don't count, doesn't mean they don't matter. We are actually simulcasting this in two different areas right here on the Suns Jam Session podcast, and seeing as Matthew's going to be joining us later from the Footprint Center, I got our good friend, the Suns Geek. Brandon, how you doing? Welcome to the show, man. First one of the season for us.
I know, right? The first of many, man, because you know that we'd love to partner up and co-stream these live on both of our channels. So that's a friendly reminder to crush that like button and share the show. But thank you so much for having me, man. I love doing these shows with you. 3 games in the preseason, man. Super excited. Basketball is back in our lives, and I'm ready to talk about this, man.
And I'm really excited to have you here because obviously Matthew and I have done the first couple shows, and I want to hear your points of view on some of these things. Now, I know that it has to do with the Phoenix Suns. You're going to make a video about it, and you've made some videos about some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. But again, it's good conversation, good Phoenix Suns-based conversation. So as Suns Geek said, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button wherever you happen to be watching this on YouTube. If you are watching on this Jam Session channel, hop over Suns Geek's channel, give him a like, do it vice versa for me. And if you want to, while you're listening, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're going, 5-star review. It's the best way to support the show. So I'm going to crack open a cold one of these nice ice cold teeth cracking Coors Lights. And you know what? I'll tell you after I pop it and after we do the drop, I'll tell you something interesting. Play at home, lose 109-91 at the hands of the Detroit Pistons. But the first thing that I want to talk about, just real quick, before we start talking Suns basketball, I was thinking about this the other day. There's one thing that my dad always did consistently right, and I never gave him credit for. And it's something that I've done from time to time, but I guess I just haven't put 2 and 2 together, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Suns Geek. When I drink beer, whether it's out of a can or a bottle, I typically drink it out of the can or the bottle. My dad used to always put it into a glass. Always. He'd always get 2 beers, a big glass, and pour them in there and just drink them. The other night, I was sitting around, and I did just that. I popped open a can, I put it into a beer, I started drinking, and I realized they go down really quick when you pour them into a glass. So do you ever do that, or do you just pop them from a can, drink them from a can normally?
Well, I've done it on your show a few times, so you're smart. Your dad is a very smart man, and I like to pour it from the glass. Occasionally, I like to do it from the can or the bottle, but it just feels something special about pouring it into the glass. You know, I don't know. Smart man, your dad.
Highly drinkable. Here's to you, pops. But talking about this Phoenix Suns game, losing again, as I mentioned, 109-91. Devin Booker's out. Ryan Dunn gets the start. I can't wait to hear from you about your thoughts on Ryan Dunn. But when it comes to Devin Booker being out, it's got to be because of his shoes, right? Because it's ankle soreness, right?
I'm so sorry that our superstar player, Devin Booker, has rose to fame and made his own shoe line, and he's out with ankle soreness, so he's not allowed to get injured. John, did you know that you can shut off the injury button for all NBA teams, and players can stay healthy all the time? Did you know that?
In 2K, yeah.
Yeah, in 2K, but not in the real world when guys just got done with training camp, and it's the preseason, and these things are going to happen. Suns fans, take a deep breath. Breathe with me in and out. Devin Booker is going to be okay. injuries happen. We saw it tonight. Josh Okogie went to the locker room at one point. Colin Gillespie took a couple hard falls. These things happen. Every team deals with injuries, and Suns fans need to chill.
Amen. I see it all over Twitter, and I envy those of you who aren't on the Twitter sphere because you get to sit back, watch a basketball game, and enjoy it. And you might have your own thoughts, but you're not putting them out there, spewing them into the universe like others who instantly believe that because of Devin Booker's shoe construction that he now has wink ankles, and that's why he's sitting out. No, it's game 3 of 5 preseason games. He's going to take the night off. Every other team is doing it. And maybe it is a little sore. Ooh, well, like Grayson Allen, he's got a little sore ankle too. Would you rather he play through it, or is it, he just needs ironclad boots while he's playing out there? He's got to rock the docks or something.
And you know what, man? Like, I'm a preseason stan because of sort of the reason you said. Like, I understand you want your players to be rested and fully healthy and everything, but these guys, they do need to play in at least a couple of games. 3 games maybe max, you know what I mean? And we kind of saw it tonight. Like, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Tyus Jones started the third quarter, and then they were done by like the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Like, these guys need a few games to rev up. And I know like this is a new team and a new coaching staff and all of that, but like, that's why you have training camp. And again, these quote injuries, and I put them in quotations, are going to happen regardless. Doesn't matter what shoes you're wearing, doesn't matter what team you play for, they're going to happen, unfortunately.
It's part of the game. The hardwood does not give in any capacity.
Exactly.
So injuries will happen, and this one isn't major. But what it did do is it opened up the door for Ryan Dunn to get the start. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, Ryan Dunn gets the start tonight. Not the greatest offensive showing. 21 minutes played, 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc. 5 total points. He had 4 rebounds. He had a steal. He had a couple blocks. What are your thoughts on Ryan Dunn in this game, Suns Geek? And what are your thoughts on Ryan Dunn thus far in this preseason?
Well, I'm going to start with the last question first. In preseason, man, I think he's looked really good. And I've been joking around on my live shows that him and Oso Ighodaro are going to win co-rookies of the year. But in all seriousness, he's looked pretty good, man. And look, maybe I'll tune it down a little bit when the regular season starts. But for the preseason, Ryan Dunn, if you're watching this show, please keep letting it fly, man. Yes. Just let the 3 fly. Who cares? It's preseason, dude. We saw in the first couple of games, he made a few of them, and he's not afraid to shoot it either, which I am okay with. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the defense now. And look, it is preseason. I'm a little bit on the ladder about overreacting and kind of underreacting, if you will. But you know what? The defense looks pretty solid, man. What was the first question again? I'm sorry. Like, in this game, how did he look?
In this particular game, he got the starting opportunity. We got to see some more minutes with the starters. Yeah. How do you feel he responded?
I think he took advantage of his opportunity, man. Like, the offense wasn't good. And even though I was hyping up the threes just a second ago, he did miss a few of them. But he got one corner 3 at one point. And look, I'm not saying he's going to be a playmaker, but I liked how he took the ball up himself a couple of times. That is huge. And again, we're going to talk about the defense, but he had that beautiful block on Tobias Harris at the rim, by the way. He has looked really good.
Well, he had that block. He had the other one where he got pump faked into a block. He landed and he quick twitched up and blocked him again. Yep. And I agree with you in everything that you said. This is the preseason. It's not the time to overreact, but it's okay to react. Yep. And that's what this is. This is a show that's on the Suns Jam Session podcast feed. It's on the Suns Geek YouTube feed. And that's what we're doing. We're reacting to what we saw tonight and thus far this preseason. And I agree with you in the fact that I love to see that the fact that he is taking those shots. There would be nothing worse, in my opinion, outside of injury, of course, but there's nothing worse than you get this guy who is so highly touted as an elite defensive playmaker, and he comes in, and we know that he also has issues with his shot, and he's afraid to take them. That's what would be scary. But here in the preseason, when it doesn't count, but it does matter, He's letting it fly, just like you said. He's taking these shots. Yeah, 1 of 5 tonight. Whoop-de-fucking-do, okay? He's taking them. He's confident enough to take them.
Yep.
Think back to last year, Suns fans. Think back to when we had like Keita Bates-Diop on this team, right? Chimezie Metu and Jordan Goodwin, especially with KBD. These are guys who we wanted to have the confidence to take those shots, to let them fly. And they just wouldn't take them. They were so passive. They were so afraid of making the wrong decision that they never tried to make the right one. And they just passed the ball off. Whereas Ryan Dunn's getting it and he's shooting it. He's taking the ball up. And then, of course, on the defensive end, he's proving why he was considered one of the greatest defensive players in this draft. His instincts are exactly where they need to be. His double jump is like, it's almost Sean Marion-esque, if you will. That's what it reminds me of. Baby Matrix, Baby Pippin. Like, he's got all these little kind of things, these intangibles that make us excited here in the preseason. That's what the preseason's for, is to get excited about the fucking rookie.
And you said the key word, instincts, because that wasn't the first time Ryan Dunn played the Pistons, and it wasn't the first time that he locked down Cade Cunningham, or like you said, double jumped and blocked his shot. I love that. And you know what? I know Cade, I could go on a whole rant about Cade Cunningham. Obviously, he's not an all-star yet, but he has all-star potential, and he's doing this to Cade Cunningham. I can't wait to see what he does against like the LeBrons and all the like the better, like the Lucas and Anthony Edwards of this league. You know what I mean? I cannot wait to see. And I think he's welcome to that challenge. Like, sure, it might be tough to put a rookie on all-star level guys, but he's already probably doing it in practice against KD and Booker and Beal. I cannot wait, man. He has the instincts, and I love his confidence so far.
And that's going to be one of those things where, again, we don't know how many minutes he's going to be allotted during the regular season.
It's going to be a whole different conversation.
It is. And that's why the preseason, it's fun to watch this, because we're seeing this opportunity. But even if it's 15 minutes a game, even if it's bringing him in spurts to try to shut down the Lucas of the league, the LeBrons of the league, to be just a fly in the ointment, that's going to be worth it. Add that shot in there, and great things can happen. You know, I got my friends texting me. It's like, oh, so much for Ryan Dunn. He shot 16% from the floor tonight. I'm like, whoop-de-fucking-do. It's the preseason. You know, like I wasn't too high when he was hitting threes. I was like, wow, that's great. He was hitting some threes. That's what we want to see. That's a good thing. But I'm not going to sit there and you know, put a stamp on him. It's like, yep, this is the next all-star for the Phoenix Suns. But good things to see from him. Cade Cunningham, you mentioned him. Amazing night for Cade. Now, granted, he played 30 minutes tonight. Like, this was almost like you know how in football they'll have a quarterback who comes in, you know, in the preseason in the third game in Louis, the way it used to be, and he'd play like the entire game to truly get him warmed up for the season. It almost felt like that for Cade Cunningham, because he played 30 minutes. He was 10 of 16 from the floor, only 1 of 4 from beyond the arc, but he had 25 points to lead all scorers. He had 12 total rebounds, 9 assists. Cade's looked a lot nicer than he did, at least in the last game, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, man, because I was going to talk about him regardless, man. I think a lot of basketball fans, and sometimes including myself, I think we forget how good he is, because he's obviously had the injury history, but obviously the Pistons have not been very good. And I could talk about the Pistons in a whole different live show or in a future podcast and everything, but they are hopefully going to be better, and take that with a grain of salt here, because they do have a new guy in their front office. They have a new coaching staff and a new head coach and everything, even though Monty Williams probably should have been given 1 more year.
No, he should not have.
My point being this,
he didn't give a shit.
He just wanted to take the money and go.
He wanted that money and run.
But my point being is that he's healthy. For so far, the Pistons team is healthy. They have a lot of young talent, including Cade Cunningham, because he's still very young as well.
Oh, yeah.
He just got paid. You have to build off somebody. You have to have a, quote, all-star on your team, and that is Cade Cunningham, and he played great, man. I'm low-key rooting for him. I hope that he has a better season. I kind of hope the Pistons have a better season, man, because they have a bright, I don't want to say bright future, because I jinxed them last time I said that, but they have a lot of young, talented guys on their team.
I agree, and bringing in veterans like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris, are going to do great things for that team. In fact, I watched this game on playback, because like I live locally. I have the antenna. I put it up in the summer, but it's like it's in my room, and my wife was watching TV in there. So I just went on playback, and instead of hosting a playback, I hopped on a playback. It was a Pistons playback, and the name of the playback escapes me, but I'm going to look it up real quick here. It is the Home Court, a Pistons fan cast and forum. And these guys, and I actually hopped on, for about half a quarter. I hopped on and I talked ball with them because I wanted, I like hearing the opposing fans and different, organizations. And, it's the one thing that they said is like having Tobias Harris, like these veterans are helping these guys like balance their checkbook. They're doing more than mentoring them in basketball, in life.
Yep.
And it's like, it's good to see that. And I do root for the Pistons and their players and their fans of their organization. Because again, they've never really hurt my feelings. I can't remember when the Pistons really waxed the Suns to the point where I'd be frustrated with them. Some other things in this game, I got to talk about our boy Bradley Beal, man.
And she said, you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Bo, bo.
I really liked what I saw from Bradley Beal in this game. 24 minutes played. He was 7 of 15 from the field. He took the most shots by any member of the Phoenix Suns. 2 of 6 from beyond the arc. 17 total points. Only 1 rebound, no assists. But it's what I saw on the floor and the way that he's moving around that really it excites me. And it looks a lot like the old Beal in the fact that he's not being relied on to be the playmaker. He's doing a lot of the off-ball stuff that's made him successful in the past. Is there anything from Beal that stood out to you tonight or during this preseason, Suns Geek?
So I'm going to put my quote analysis in quotations here because that's, but I use the word aggressive a lot in my analysis, but it is true. Like today, he was super aggressive. And I kind of like how you worded it. Like, I think you said the way he was moving off the ball, for example. But even when he had the ball too, he just looks a lot more faster this year, quick off the bounce and everything. And again, aggressive when he's driving to the hole. I wrote down a couple of notes here, and I believe most of this happened in the first half.
Sure.
But I think how many threes did he have tonight? Like he finished
2.
with 2 for 4.
2 of 6.
2 for 6. But he was 2 for 4, I believe, either at the end of the first or halftime. And one of those threes was wide open, by the way. But he just had good looks all night long. And I don't know if that was just the Pistons defense or, again, with him just being aggressive, driving to the hoop, getting those open threes. And then I also wrote down that he had a little fast break score. I believe it was Monte Morris that found him. And then he had that one play where he forced the turnover. It might have been on Cade Cunningham, and it led to that fast break. So trying to do it on both ends. And again, I know he didn't really assist very much tonight, and I know the three-point shooting wasn't great, but I don't really care. He's more of a mid-range shooter anyways. Can be athletic at times. Get to the foul line. I like what I saw out of Bradley Beal. And again, I like how you said moving off the ball. And he was talking about it during media day that he's just in a better place mentally. Mm-hmm. And he clearly is healthy so far. Seems like he had a really good offseason. Maybe lost a little weight, not calling him fat or anything, but seems like he might have like slimmed down a little bit. And if we can get this version of Bradley Beal, I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the regular season when the games really matter.
I liked what Kiko G said in the chat. And again, thank you to everyone who's joining us live on the chat, or if you're watching later, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Again, it's the best way to support our shows. Kiko G says Beal was ball hogging, but for his confidence, it's okay.
Exactly.
I agree. Again, this is the preseason. That's what this is for. Allow him to find some flow. Allow him to build some confidence. Allow him to understand what his new role is, which should mirror kind of what his role was while he was in Washington, where he could be relied on to be a scorer and not be relied on to be a facilitator and a playmaker, to be somebody who's working off ball, who's navigating back cuts, setting high picks for KD, which is something I didn't see him do at all last year. Now I see him doing that. And another thing that I really like is the way that he is working with Oso Ighodaro.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Oso Ighodaro. I'm feeling this connection here with Oso and Bradley Beal. There's something going on here. Oso, who I've talked about on the podcast as somebody who I've been really impressed with thus far relative to his processing ability and his playmaking ability. Like, he is personified the 0.5 offense. And I get the ball, I make a decision with it. I don't just sit there and hold it.
For
and
real.
when he makes that decision, a lot of times he's looking for Bradley Beal. And Beal knows and is developing that chemistry. Hey, if I see the ball across court, Okay, Tyus Jones got the ball, and he's getting ready to pass it to Oso. I need to start moving because Oso's going to find me with that next pass, and I need to be in a place that's going to be successful for a shot, and then I can take it. What have you seen from Oso relative to passing, and is there anything that you'd like to see him improve?
Okay, great question. And my answer is going to be a little all over the place because I kind of want to start with the numbers here. He played 23 minutes tonight. No field. Well, he was 0 for 3 from the field, so no points. But he had 5 rebounds and 3 assists and a block. Oso Ighodaro is going to be, at least from what we can gather from the preseason, he's going to be one of those players who some nights his number is going to be all across the boards. Like I think in his first preseason game, he had like really good numbers. And this game, didn't put up many numbers, but played pretty well, all things considering, in my personal opinion. Like, I love that. He's going to be that guy that his numbers may not show up on the board, but he's making a little bit of an impact. And I love that, especially coming from a rookie. And one thing that I think might get overlooked, and a lot of Suns fans know this was even before we even drafted the guy. His IQ is off the charts. And yes. I love that. I think somebody on the Suns broadcast said that, and I don't know if it was Tyus Jones who said it or Mike Budenholzer, but they said that Oso had his best practice so far coming into this game. So that is absolutely huge. Now, things that maybe he wants to improve on. And it's funny because he's a really good passer, but like he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. He's going to turn the ball over. It's going to happen. So maybe just be a little smarter with those passes. Although Tom Leander on the broadcast was great. He said that he's keeping track of what he's calling. And I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Is it pocket passes? I think that's what he said.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, pocket passes, stuff like that. But again, I think he's really good so far. Cannot wait to see what he's going to do in the regular season. And kind of like how you mentioned with Ryan Dunn, I just want to see how the minutes are going to be with both of our rookies once the regular season starts. But if Oso keeps playing like this, especially how we saw him in those first 2 games, man, he's going to get a lot of minutes. I think he's going to be a big part of this team. And he's just continuing to impress me and Suns fans.
Yeah, it's funny that they said that this was his best practice coming into this game, and it was probably his worst game, right? Because there were some turnovers, didn't make any shots. And in my opinion, the one thing I like to see from Oso in this preseason is the same thing that I just praised Ryan Dunn for. And that is just being aggressive, shooting. Knowing that he's not a shooter, but taking it to the rim, trying the push shot, get to the lane, get 10 feet out, take a shot, get comfortable with your offense. Because of his basketball IQ and because he has that decision making, he's almost becoming too passive. Yeah. He's going down the lane. He's got what could be a contested shot, but something he could potentially go through somebody, and he's dishing the ball out. And that's where we saw actually a couple turnovers come from, where he's being too passive on the offensive end, and it's leading to either a turnover or a missed opportunity. And so for Oso, that's just what I'd like to see in the next couple games. Because again, preseason, we don't know how this is going to translate to the real season. Exactly. There's some veterans on this team who might get more playing time, but these rookies are both showing that they belong in the NBA. Yep. And when minutes are allotted to them, they can perform. We'll see come regular season. But I'm going to enjoy seeing him continue to grow, because when you have a basketball IQ like he has shown thus far, that is a fantastic foundation. Yeah. That's what you need to build off moving forward.
And another thing too is I just think I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So one question I have. Well,
if I remember it, I'll bring it back. I'm sorry, man. I completely lost my train of thought there.
No worries. I got to drop.
Sha la 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 la. Mr. Jones and me.
Well. I got bad news, Suns Geek. Tyus Jones turned the ball over twice tonight. I guess it's over. I guess the experiment's over. Now, Tyus Jones, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, but had 11 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. One thing I don't think we've given him enough credit for upon acquiring him, we saw the numbers, right? We saw the assist to turnover ratio numbers throughout his career. And we're like, oh, thank God, somebody who could be a facilitator, somebody who has ball security skills. We didn't give enough credit to his three-point shooting. In the last 3 seasons in his career, he's averaged 39% from beyond the arc. And it's something that we've seen in this preseason is his ability to unleash the three ball and how effective that's going to be for the Suns, because he's going to initiate so many possessions this season for the Phoenix Suns. And when the ball swings around, you know what? He might find himself wide open. And if he can knock down that three ball, that's a hell of a skill to have, don't you think?
First off, I just want to apologize to the Jamsters and to the Suns Geekateers. I don't know what happened with me just there. I had a point about Oso Ighodaro, and then it went. So I do sincerely apologize.
It's those sprites you're sucking down.
And I'm legit sober. Like, I don't know. I literally had a little Starbucks earlier this morning. And I don't know what happened. I have a brain fart. I guess I'm an old man now. I sincerely apologize.
You're good, brother.
I'm glad you brought this up because I have literally been tweeting every time that Tyus Jones has made a three. And I'll usually just tweet Tyus Jones for 3. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. His scoring is a huge, underrated part to his game. And that is going to possibly, again, it's preseason. I don't want to overhype it. It could be possibly a big key to us winning a lot of games because we all know he can score. I know you're a big football guy. He is our quarterback for the team. But, guys, Tyus Jones can score the ball. And I love it, man. But he just does sort of like with Oso Ighodaro. I know that Oso had a bad game and everything, but Tyus Jones does a lot of the little things, and his basketball IQ is off the charts. He gets guys involved. He's constantly moving, but at the same time, kind of slows things down, tells guys where they need to be. I think Suns fans, new and old, are going to love Tyus Jones.
Yeah, that is, in every sense of the word, he is a floor general. And he's acting like a general does. And seeing what he's done thus far in the preseason, there's just a calming presence with both him and Monte Morris out there. I think that that's something that's been very effective, is just, again, knowing that you have somebody to kind of calm the flow, get everybody where they need to be, and then you just kind of execute from there. I do want to talk a little bit about, let's do Bol Bol.
Look, up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's
Bol Bol, motherfucker.
Real quick, so says Jay says, Void is a big baseball guy too. You know that?
Are you? I didn't know that, man.
Go Dodgers,
Is that why you keep
baby.
looking up your screen?
No, that's because ASU's playing right now.
Okay.
They're up 13-9 on Utah, who's 16th in the country. But Utah's about to score.
Shout out to Fanning the Flames podcast, by the way.
And shout out to Dan Duarte, who last time he recorded was making fun of the Dodgers being down 2-1 in the series, and they won that series 3-2 and are headed to the National League Championship Series. Love you, Danny boy. Thank you for that positive karma. It worked in our situation. Bol Bol tonight, 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc, had 9 total rebounds, had a couple points, 2 assists. What'd you see from Bol Bol tonight? I need to know what Suns Geek is thinking about this Bol Bol preseason, because for me, I it's the preseason. Let me just start there. It's the preseason. So what are you thinking? Calm me.
Well, one, he actually played a lot tonight. I feel like he really hasn't played that much this preseason. Like, I know he played in the first 2 games. I just feel like he didn't play that much. He actually got some run, and even though I don't think he hit a 3 tonight, he was taking them, and I'll take it. I just think he needs to get a little bit quicker, and I know that might sound a little weird because the guy's super tall and everything. I just think he needs to get a little bit quicker. And I remember after the first preseason game, there were a few fans in my live show, and I understand their concerns. They were like, hey, like, Bol Bol didn't look good out there. Like, what's going on? And I was like, guys, he probably doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. This is sort of a new team, new offense and everything. I'm like, I'm sure he will be fine. He's probably just trying to adjust to everything. I'm like, and again, like, I hate to use this as a cop-out answer, but it is just preseason out there. Although he did have that play where I think it was a turnover. Royce O'Neal took the ball, tried to lob it up to him, and then he put it in and scored. So at least Bol Bol played. He's out there. He's getting minutes. He's getting a run. He had 8 rebounds, 2 assists. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, the rebounding's there. We just need to see a little bit more of the offensive game. The crowd was so ready to erupt for him to do something positive, because it was a game that, I mean, the Suns, they were down right out of the gate, right? Like 40. They gave up 40 points in the first quarter, and I'll talk about that here momentarily. But so when that happens, the preseason game, you just want those little opportunities to cheer for things, and that would have been something that would have made everybody cheer. Is Bol hitting a three or hitting a layup, or he had a couple runners,
a dunk or something,
and it just wasn't there. It's going to continue to be a work in progress because we've seen what the apex of Bol has been, at least with the Suns, and maybe not what could be in his career. Maybe something brighter lies ahead, but we know where he can get to. We just haven't seen any flashes of that, offensively or defensively for that matter, this preseason. And that'll be something we watch in these next couple of games, right? We got Denver, we got LA to close out the preseason, and we're going to be watching Bol to see, because Bol's performance matters in the preseason, because like Oso Ighodaro could take his minutes. Ryan Dunn could chip into his minutes. This is somebody who we all thought, or a lot of Believers believed, that he was going to have a substantial impact on this team, averaging anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes a game. And when you can't perform, or you're thinking too much and you're not reacting appropriately, that's when you're going to lose some of those minutes, and the rookies have an opportunity to take those, right?
And I'm glad you brought that up. And first off, I do agree with you. The rookies could definitely take his spot, and even some of the other guys coming off the bench could take his spot. But don't forget, Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen are both out as well. So when they come back, that's even more minutes that Bol could potentially lose. And that is coming from somebody who is a Bol fan, a Bol believer, if you will. Believer. And we're just gonna have to see, man. Wasn't the greatest game. He hasn't had a great preseason. I'm still a believer. We will see. Give it time. But I do understand the concerns from you and from like my subscribers and the comments and from other Suns fans. I get it, because again, the potential is there. And he worked out with Kevin Durant probably multiple times during the offseason.
Oh yeah,
he talked about it at media day. Like, there's got to be some kind of growth there. I'm still a believer, though. And it looks like Matthew's joining us live from the arena.
Hello, everybody.
All right, perfect. Well, looks like coming live from Footprint Center, it's Matthew trying to figure out his technology.
There we go. Okay, I just was using my debit card there.
All right.
This mic doesn't work, by the way, but does it look good?
It looks fantastic.
Okay, great.
All right, Matthew, coming to us live from the Foot. I guess it's a good time for me to cue this up.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I've got to ask, is the defense chant still way too loud at the Footprint Center?
Everything is way too loud, man. Oh, hold on. I have my mic up. Everything is just way too loud there.
There? You
Very
mean here?
Professional. Yeah, being up there, man, everything's just super loud. I was hoping coming into the season, just everything kind of reverberates when you're sitting up in that tunnel area underneath the awning. It's a little miserable at times, but I do keep these in. I do keep those in mostly the whole time. And the defense chants, I didn't notice as much, but the music itself, the halftime stuff, like that's just way too loud. But I think it's just because of where we sit.
So what was your observations of this game?
It was what I predicted. I think that, what we wanted was to see more consistency from like Bol, Plumlee, guys like that. But you know what? I kind of felt like the Detroit Pistons were going to take this game anyways. They kind of need this game. Cade Cunningham needed the game. He came out there, almost had a triple-double. I didn't expect the triple-double, but I thought it would be a better performance by him. To see Ryan Dunn and Oso kind of take a step back a little bit, it's kind of expected a little bit because we're just so hyped about him, I feel like. So, of course, we're going to be like, a game off. Are we going to kind of worry about it? I don't think so, but I was excited to see them kind of push through it, but they just didn't have the performance I feel like they did, of course, the first two games.
Yeah, that's definitely something we were talking about a little bit. And again, how it's preseason, it is expected. They're bad, but it's what makes the preseason exciting this time is because we have these rookies out here and they're going to, it's like Mark N just said in the chat, rookies will have rookie moments, and they had a few of those tonight, but they still are showcasing everything that they need to do to be relatively effective. What other observations do you have? Like, I have a list of questions for you.
Well, there was, so the injury with Booker, I don't know if you guys talked about that.
We talked about how it's got to be his shoes.
Yeah, it's got to be the shoes like always. I feel like there's always something going on with that, but it was just pushed aside by Bud after the game. He just basically said like, hey, We'll just wait to see next game. It is preseason. You don't want to rush anything. There wasn't a whole lot of interviews after, of course. He just had Royce O'Neal, Tyus Jones kind of comment on the defense.
What they say about it?
Just has to be better. They just basically said, the Detroit Pistons came in here. They dictated the whole game from the start. That's exactly what it looked like. That's exactly what happened. And it's fine because it's preseason and you can't beat maybe a team back-to-back playing the Pistons in the second game. But
how you're holding that microphone is so funny.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it great? I'm all like pointing. I'm just having it up here. I'm almost like, yep, okay.
It's true though, and that is, it's something I was going to talk to Suns Geek about here momentarily. But I guess I'll ask this as an open-ended question. What is your number one, both of you? What is your number one concern with this team going into the season?
I'll start with this one. So far, and I hate to say this because it kind of sort of reminds me of like last season and some seasons in the past, sort of the defense. And even Mike Budenholzer has talked about that. Even their assistant coach, Mike Hopkins, talked about that tonight during one of the little side interviews. It is sort of the defense. And again, it's preseason. It's against the Pistons, whatever. It is what it is. But like, a lot of the hype sort of around Mike Budenholzer and coming into the season was about the Suns defense, and there's been times we've seen it, and in all fairness, they did cut back into the lead a little bit, but I'm a little concerned about the defense.
What about you, Matthew?
The defense is one of them. I think rebounding was my biggest thing. I think they have a lot of guys right now you can kind of tell are like kind of help rebounders, so it hasn't been the biggest issue, but that was my biggest thing coming into this season. But also you have to look at just like turning it around from last year, kind of overcoming just such a bad outing. I think already in the preseason of 2 games, I think everyone's pretty excited about how this team looks. So I feel like that kind of cured that already, and this team kind of headed in the right direction. So I don't have much worries. I just kind of worry now about the rookies. Like, I know they just had a bad game, but it's like they look so good. So it's like, I hope it's not one of those things where they look so good and they just barely played the season, because it was just not a fib, but it was just the first 2 games of preseason.
Well, we have Chris in the chat. He says their depth, and I don't think that depth is an issue that is at the top of my list. It might not even be top 3. I agree with you both. I think defense is my number one concern, and maybe it's defensive depth. To Chris's point, it being depth, maybe it's defensive depth. But this team, we noticed tonight, I mean, they gave up a 40 spot in the first quarter, and they were down. They led a total of 36 seconds this entire game. So it's one of those games where they were constantly playing uphill battle, fighting that uphill battle, if you will. And when you couple that with their rebounding and their issues with rebounding, it's going to hurt and extrapolate upon itself. Second chance points, Detroit outscored Phoenix 13-7. Total rebounds, they out-rebounded the Suns 51-39. So you take those both into account, and this team shot a lot of threes, but they only hit 23.4% of them. They were 11 for 47 from beyond the arc. So it's something that Matthew and I talked about on a previous podcast, where if your defense and your rebounding isn't great, and you are fulfilling the Mike Budenholzer propaganda is not the right word, his vision, I guess, of shooting a lot of threes, and you're missing them, and you have poor defense, you're going to allow the opposition to go on runs. And we saw that tonight ad nauseum, and that's what, again, the Pistons were 9-35 from deep. Like, they weren't hitting threes either, but because they could get those second chance points, because they were out rebounding the Suns, they put themselves in a position to be better tonight.
Real quick, can I just say something? I literally was checking Twitter, and Mike Budenholzer said that he gives the Pistons credit, but he also said, and I quote, "The Suns could have played smarter defense." That is a real actual quote. That's what Mike Budenholzer just said.
Matthew, you were there when he said that, correct?
Yeah. He was right in front of me, and I was like, yeah, I believe you. But, you can't take too much away from these preseason post-game press conferences, because they go to the locker room, and KD, Booker, and all of them are already out partying. No one's even here anymore. Like, that was the quickest interview after. So he did say that, but it's just like there wasn't too much really to focus on other than that. And he just liked the way this defense was also going to. He can see the good side of things, kind of in a way, kind of a brightness to the defense, and there's more to build on, but there's also going to be a better future for it, I feel like, in the future. Well, that made no sense.
Well,
all right, Matthew,
Matthew, real quick, I just want to say you called it. You said that the Suns most likely would lose this, and it's okay that they lost this, right? It's almost good that they did, right?
Yeah, I don't want to go undefeated in the preseason. That's not good. I always remember the one time the Detroit Lions went undefeated in the preseason. They lost every game. I think maybe they won one, but no, I think they lost every game during the season. So I don't want that for the Suns.
Well, that brings me to
you know what time it is.
Trivia time.
In the history of the Phoenix Suns, how many times have they gone undefeated in the preseason?
3 times.
Twice.
So Matthew says twice. Suns Geek says 3 times. And then how many times have they never won a game in the preseason? Have they been defeated?
20.
20?
25.
25? All right, they've been defeated a total of once. 2011, they were 0-2. And as far as being undefeated, in 1998, they were 2-0. And then in 1994, they were 8-0. So twice. So Matthew wins that round. And for that, Matthew, you can go home. You can pack up your fake mic and you can go ahead and get the hell out of here.
All right. I appreciate it. Do you mind just taking me off the screen?
Of course. Matthew's gone. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us live from the foot. It's something that we're going to do a little bit more this year. I know that in the past, when Matthew and I have covered games at the arena, we'll sit and we'll do the full-on podcast there. One of the things that we want to do this year, because it is a lot, we want to go to those post-game press conferences. What we would do in the past is we would be at the game and we'd start broadcasting right there. Once the game ended, right on press row, we start broadcasting. And we miss those post-game interviews. Like what you just mentioned with Mike Budenholzer said. Matthew was in the room for that with the press because he wanted to, get that insight. So it's one of those things where if one of us are at the game, we're just going to come in live from the foot real quick, give the highlights of what happened in the post-game press conference and get out of there. So Jamsters, get used to seeing Suns Geek over here because I'm sure he'll fill in plenty to help us out on the show and sit in on the games where Matthew or myself will be down there at the foot actually covering the games.
Hopefully I won't have any more brain farts like I did earlier. I legit do not know what happened. I got scared for a minute. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm going to have fun with that. I'm going to edit some clips with that.
Are there any other notes you want to go over?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, what do you got? Let's talk about it.
First off, Kevin Durant. I mean, is it safe to say he looks like he's already in regular season form? I mean, we don't even really have to talk about him that much, but he looks really good. 24 minutes, 18 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal,
7 of 12 shooting.
Yeah,
I mean, that's exactly the big thing. Ooh, touchdown ASU. Let's go, baby.
Nice. And just him rolling off the screens, getting those middies, getting his shot. Like, remember in the very first game when he was like bricking and missing all of those shots? Like, it seems like he got that out of the way. Yeah. And now he looks like he's in regular season form. Again, we don't have to spend too much time with him or talking about him. But I know he hasn't had a great preseason. And I know I'm going to sound a little weird here. But Mason Plumlee and Monte Morris, who I think's had a pretty good preseason. Morris, anyways.
I agree.
The connection is real. Obviously, they played together in Denver for, I think, maybe a season or a short amount of time. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, man, just it seemed like every time Monte Morris would get Mason Plumlee the ball, Mason Plumlee would return the favor, whether that was like Morris cutting the basket, getting the and one, for example, and then Morris returning the favor to the Plumlee. Like, I love that connection. And I think both Monte Morris and Mason Plumlee talked about that when they first got signed and it was official and they were talking to the media. Like they played with each other. They have respect for each other. And I think that is going to be, Monty Williams always used to use the word continuity. That kind of continuity, even though it's coming from 2 different players on a different team, now coming to the Suns, that's going to be huge. And I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in terms of
I think that's a great point, though, because there's a lot of little things that makes this team really have that connection. And that's one of them, right? You had Monte Morris and Mason Plumlee both played together before. And you're seeing that come on the court via comfortability and understanding spacing. Josh Okogie played with Tyus Jones.
Yep.
Tyus Jones also played with Grayson Allen in college. So there's some comfortability. I think they were interviewing Josh Okogie at one point. He was talking about that, how it's nice to have somebody that he knows and understands out there. I'd like seeing Plumlee. In my opinion, this is the best Plumlee game that we've seen thus far.
Exactly.
3 of 4 from the field, 18 minutes played, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 points, 2 steals, a lot more comfortable. And it's going to take some time for him to kind of embrace that, what his role is going to be. And we've been seeing him play with the starters, but Monte Morris is who he's going to be logging minutes with. He's the second team guy.
Exactly.
And if they have that comfortability, that continuity, as you mentioned, that's going to play well in the Suns' favor moving forward, because there's that level. That's one of the biggest hurdles that we had last year. There were so many new faces, and there was no chemistry. And now it just feels like it's in a lab. And I hate to get too excited about anything because I'm a Suns fan, but at the same time, there's a lot of positive returns, and for that I'm thankful.
Yeah. No, I'm just excited as well, man. I think, hopefully when we're like fully healthy and the regular season started and our starters, for example, like our big three are looking like the big three we all know them to be, hopefully that opens up more doors for like Monte Morris, Mason Plumlee, Royce O'Neal, et cetera, Grayson Allen. Cannot wait, man. But that continuity and that chemistry is going to be huge.
Absolutely. I was hanging out on the subreddit for the Detroit Pistons. That's right. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. Where was I? Where is she? Who am I? I am Batman. I was hanging out on the Detroit Pistons subreddit because I can't go as Darth Vader. They'd be like, who is he? And I'm like, where is she? And here's what they had to say about the Phoenix Suns. They said, Phoenix with 2-on-1 available and bricks of 3. What are things I hate about the modern NBA? As a Pistons fans, I'll take it, but it is dumb. And I agree with that. Tyus Jones, he had a turnover. He instantly got the ball back and jacked up a 3. And I was like, well. Tobias Harris is Kevin Durant's father. Had no idea. His last name is Durant. The best way to beat the Suns is to make 80% of our shots and force 30 turnovers because these fuckers shoot 75% against us, which didn't happen tonight. This is just a funny term. I've never heard this before. They're like, Cade and Tobias are going pork shit.
What? Wow.
Instead of going like batshit crazy,
right?
they're going pork shit.
Okay.
Maybe it's the right thing. I don't know.
That's a new one.
This is interesting. Well, I'll end with this one because, all right. I've got a soft spot for Frank the Tank, and I don't know why. Why KD Beard go forward like that?
That's great.
We all want to know. And then the last one, and I want to talk about this. Book wants to be a Piston so bad. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. So this was interesting. When I went on the playback TV with the guy, the Pistons guys, they were asking that exact question. They're like, so do you think at the end of the season when the Suns fail, that Book will demand to be a Piston? I was like, what? I was like, one, Devin Booker, and it was actually good to go there and say this. I'm like, one, Devin Booker never in 10 fucking years has indicated in any way, shape, or form that he wants to be out of Phoenix.
Preach.
And why? And they're like, well, he's always wearing Detroit stuff. I'm like, yeah, because he's fucking from there. Like, you know? And they're like, I know. We're just trying to.
Fans know that.
We're just trying to will it into existence. I'm like, dude, if anything happens, if this team fails, it's Kevin Durant who's gone. They could have extended his contract this offseason, but they didn't. They're going to see how it goes this year, knowing that he has 1 year left on his contract. If it doesn't work, that's where they will make up their money and build around Book again. So it was just kind of interesting to see that that perspective, if you will. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, real quick, Kip has had a lot of great comments tonight, but Kip said it so perfectly in the chat. Never change the subreddit stakeout animation. It's just perfect. Even if you guys get millions of subscribers and millions of dollars, please never change that because it is amazing.
The Devin Booker, like,
yes, please never change that. But Yeah, I pretty much just going to echo everything you said, man. Devin Booker has never given any indication ever, even in the worst Phoenix Suns moments, the worst Phoenix Suns seasons, even when all that bullshit with Robert Sarver was going on and everything, he still would tweet out, "I love Phoenix." You know what I mean? And little things like that, you know what I mean? And never once has said anything bad upon this organization, never has wanted out. No, anytime there was like a trade rumor, he's always deflected all that stuff.
Every time.
Devin Booker's not going anywhere. I understand Detroit Pistons are in a very low place and they're trying to speak it into existence. I understand that. I'm friends with a couple Pistons fans. I get you, but calm down, Pistons fans. It's not happening. I agree. Maybe in the future, John, we will talk more about the KD extension. Maybe as the days and months go on, it will become more of a real thing. But I know that Kevin Durant is currently playing with this team, and we're just going to have to wait and see about the extension thing. But it's a real thing. It's in the back of my head, but right now I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, it's still the preseason. We got a whole season ahead of us.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, let's hand out some hardware.
Jam star of the game.
All right, this is a reminder if you're watching along live or at a later time, hit that thumbs up button, hit the bell notification, subscribe to our channels. It's the best way to support the podcast, and it helps with the algorithms and lets other Suns fans who are looking for Suns content know where to go when Suns games are over. If you happen to be listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, write a review. We'll read it right here on the pod. God, it's been like 2 months since somebody wrote a review for the podcast, and I would love to read one. So please do us that solid. Please, please, please. If you happen to be watching along live, let us know in the chat who your jam star of the game is. Sunsky, who's your jam star of the game?
You know what? I think since this is going to be my first one, even though it's just preseason, so the first one of the preseason, I think it's going to be Bradley Beal, man. And I know that might be the easy answer, but we already talked about it. We had a whole segment about it. If you missed it, go back and re-listen to it again, because that also helps with the algorithm as well.
Big time.
But Bradley Beal was great tonight, man. And again, I know it's just preseason, but if we are getting this version of Bradley Beal, who I think he said, and I quote, wants to have more fun this year, if we're getting this version of Bradley Beal, man, we're going to be a tough team to beat. Bradley Beal is my first jam star of the game, even if it is just preseason.
Hey, it still counts. I'm still annotating them. Let's see. I'm going to type mine in. All right. Let's see what the chat is saying real quick. So we've got Kiko agrees with you. Kiko saying my jam star is Bradley Beal for trying to get his mojo back. I don't disagree with that.
I like that. Yeah.
I like what Kip said. Matthew's orange fake mic. Like that's
the real jam star of the game.
That's the low key. Like if you know, you know, or if in case you missed it, go back and watch Matthew's segment. I'm going to give this one to KD. Okay. I just think that what I saw out there, outside of the turnovers, right? He had 3 turnovers, and there were some boneheaded turnovers. But I also think that Kevin Durant was very, very high for this game.
Yeah.
He showed up to the arena looking a little baked. They do that thing, you know, when they come walking in where there's a question and they answer it, and then the social media kind of plays it, you know. And I think today's question was something about, you know, what do you like about playing at home? And, you know, some are, I live close. The majority of them said the fans, you know, but KD just, he's like doing these things, man. They're great. You know, like he had the towel over his face. He was having a good old.
I tweeted that photo out, by the way. That's hilarious.
It's a great photo. So KD and, you know, whatever strain he was smoking today, that's my jam star. Up next for the Phoenix Suns, they play Friday. It's going to be at Denver. So they come home from one game. They're off to Denver. I think is it a 5:30 Arizona time start? So is that 7:30 your time, I believe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a Sunday night. That's also game 1 of the National League Championship Series for the Dodgers and the Mets. Anything you're looking for in this game? You know, we're going up against Denver. What are your thoughts on Denver this season?
Well, you know what, man? I'll be real with you. I've only watched one of their preseason games.
It's more than I have.
And I know they lost Contavious Caldwell-Pope this offseason, and that in the long run could be a very significant loss, especially even the season before, losing Bruce Brown and some other guys. But I will say this, man, I kind of like what they did in this offseason besides losing KCP. Like, they got Russell Westbrook. They got former Phoenix Sun Dario Saric. And they are really banking on some of their younger talent to step up. But at the end of the day, they still have Nikola Jokic. They still got Jamal Murray. We'll see how the Russell Westbrook thing works out. I'm a little biased when it comes to Russell Westbrook. I love the guy. I think he's an incredible point guard, one of the greatest of all time. So we'll see, man. But what I'm looking forward in the game is, first off, because we did talk about it earlier, and hopefully it's not a continuing topic and trend, but I do want to see better defense from the jump. You know what I mean? I want to see better defense from and I know that's like cliche analysis, but it's true. Again, Mike Budenholzer was talking about it. Their assistant coach has been talking about it. I'm sure you guys have talked about it on your pod. I've talked about it on my show. The defense needs to be cleaned up. But outside of that, man, let's just keep seeing what we've been seeing, man. Good passing, good ball movement. Keep launching those threes. I don't care what the percentage looks like. I don't care how many you miss. Keep launching those threes, man, because that's also going to be a key factor in hopefully what will be a lot of wins this season.
All right, so without looking at the box score, okay, I'm sure you're aware it's something that I'm very keyed in on this year is what percentage of their total shots are being taken from beyond the arc, right? So it's like I said 40% is kind of the number this year because Budenholzer teams have a history of going over 40% of their total shots being three-pointers, and the Suns have never done that as an organization. What percentage of three-pointers did you think they took tonight?
57?
53.4. No, you're right. And last game it was over 50% too. The last two preseason games, I've been asking for 40. These motherfuckers are shooting 50. So I mean, they're buying into the process. And again, it might not be necessarily what we see when the season begins.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take the best shot available, and it might not always be the 3-pointer, but they're working on in-game opportunities to shoot the three ball. And that's something that I will echo that I'm looking for in the Denver game is for them to continue that offensive standpoint, but to focus on rebounding and team rebounding. I feel like I said that for this game too. When I asked Matthew the same question last time, I was like, hey, we just gotta, what do you want to do? It's like rebounding, right? It's like, yeah, it's like rebounding and defense. It's obviously the weak spot of this team. And that's where we just want to see some movement, some growth for this team going into the Denver Nuggets team. So, that being said, I think that's all we got for the show, man. We got anything else? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. I just want to say one thing. It's just preseason. Calm down, everybody. Like I'm on a fine line with overreacting, but I'm trying to stay like level-headed.
I feel like everybody's calm. Twitter's not horrible. It's not a barren landscape. What I will say is, if you haven't yet, head over to yes, that's a big fourth down stop. Head over to Suns Geek's channel. Check out his Suns Media Day vlog. It's a great inside look. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Suns Geek, who doesn't live in Phoenix, had an opportunity to come out to Phoenix, attend Media Day. Hell, I picked him up in my truck and we drove down there and just had a great time. And it's a great behind the scenes look at it. So appreciate you putting that together. It was a pleasure hanging out with you again.
Yes.
And a pleasure doing the show with you again, man. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited doing a lot of these shows together.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you inviting me on here. Cannot wait to do many, many more of these. You already know, man. Even if I can't make it, like, just let me know if you need me.
Always.
Because I will always be here. I will co-stream this with you. And as my subscribers know, if they are supporting you guys in your podcast, you are supporting me as well. I appreciate you guys. And thank you for the shout out with the vlog, man. I just figured, like, hey, it was a big opportunity, man. I had to film it. If I'm lucky enough to come back next year and do Media Day, I want to do it bigger and better and get more footage. Maybe we'll do more taxi cab confessions from your car again, man. That was so good. And that was just so much fun. And thank you, for picking me up you were literally right by my side throughout most of Media Day, man. So it was great. And I just want to say one more thing. I'm sorry to keep going back to this, but my little brain fart that I had earlier, I now remember what I was going to say. And it's not even that big of a deal. People are going to be like, oh, they're going to roll their eyes at this. It was the Oso Ighodaro and the turnovers that you were talking about. Yeah. Remember the little scuffle that happened between Ron Hall and Royce O'Neal?
If I remember, talk about that.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was a Oso Ighodaro turnover that caused that to happen. I'm so sorry that I freaking panicked and couldn't remember what I was talking about. But that was what I was saying. Like,
he's the funniest moment of the game too. I forgot to even talk about it.
He's a really good passer, but he's going to turn the ball over. And even though I love the Suns ball movement, there's going to be a little bit of overpassing, and it's going to it happens. This is why it's preseason. That's what I was trying to talk about. I'm sorry, y'all.
No,
sometimes podcasting and live shows are hard.
You remembered,
yeah.
And we only had 16 turnovers, so I'm okay with that. And on that note, everybody, go home and love your family.